By default, SQL Server Reporting Services doesn't support authenticating users using ASP.NET Forms Authentication. If you require Forms Authentication, you have two options. The first is to install Reporting Services to work in SharePoint integrated mode. You can see the topic Overview of Reporting Services and SharePoint Technology Integration within the Reporting Services Help System for more details on this SharePoint integrated mode. The latest version of this topic is for SQL Server 2008 R2, but it should mostly apply to SQL Server 2012 and 2014 as well. The second option is to write and install a custom authentication extension. You can see the topic Authentication in Reporting Services within the Reporting Services Help System again for more details on writing this kind of custom authentication extension. A version of this topic is available for all versions of SQL Server since 2005. Now, as in the SQL Server database engine, there are two levels of security in reporting services: at the report server level and at the object level. And each of these have predefined roles as well as the ability to add custom roles at both levels. You can manage role definitions using Management Studio connected to the instance of reporting services, but you need to use Report Manager to manage the roles assigned to Windows users and groups. To authorize users to manage reporting services resources on a report server, this is the server level security, you need to first access Report Manager. And again, I do that on my server, going to localhost reports, which redirects to this localhost reports pages folder.aspx. Then I need to go into Site Settings. Again, this is the option that lets you set properties for the entire site or the instance of reporting services, and go to the Security page. So this page displays the user accounts and roles that are authorized to manage the report server. In a fresh installation of reporting services, only members of the built-in administrators have a role assignment, and they are automatically assigned the system administrator role. This is one of the built-in roles that's part of reporting services. This role has a full set of permissions to manage anything on the report server. So because I'm a member of the built-in administrators within this instance of Windows, I automatically have access to everything that you can do in Report Manager. I can do because I'm automatically a member of this system administrative role. Now, if I want to allow existing Windows users and groups to manage reporting services resources, I can click this New Role Assignment, and that opens up this page. So I can give the group or user name that I want to assign this role to. Okay, so this is going to be an existing Windows or user group. And then I can select from the available list of roles. Now these are the default roles that are part of an initial install of reporting services. If I've created any custom system roles, they would also appear on this list. Okay, so before I create a new role, I want to go over to Computer Management, available in Administrative Tools, and go to Local Users and Groups. And I want to go ahead and create a new user. So I'm going to create a user called Joe Learn Now. So I'm going to use this user in Windows in order to demonstrate how you can assign a role to a particular user. All right, so Joe Learn Now. Password, I will create a secure password. Keep it a little bit short. And just for simplicity, I'm just going to set this so it never expires. Okay, create that new user, and now this user is available for use with reporting services. Okay, so I just need to enter now Joe Learn Now. This is how I identify the user that I want to use with this new role assignment. Unfortunately, there's no lookup box, there's no check, there's no verification, so make sure that you spell it correctly. You get an error message if that user does not exist. All right, and I don't want this user to be a system administrator, just a system user with relatively fewer responsibilities at the server level. And I'll click on OK. And now we have that new user who is assigned to the system user role. It's really that easy. And I want to emphasize one more time that authorizing a new user does not create that user account in Windows. You can create new role assignments for existing Windows users and group accounts only. That is, the user or group needs to exist in the server's local users or groups list or within your organization's Active Directory. So in this example I just showed you, I created Joe Learn Now before I was able to create the role assignment. Just be very clear on that point. Okay, so once I created the role, we're back here in the Site Settings, the Security tab, and you can see that new role displayed. And now Joe is able to perform all of the actions authorized by the system user role. So in essence, what I've done is I've combined what existed in Reporting Services, the system user role, with what existed in Windows, Joe Learn Now, an existing user, and all I'm able to do within Report Manager is make that assignment of a user to a role. I can't change the role, I can't change anything about Joe Learn Now, about his access to Windows. Okay, so again, that is a system level assignment that I just made for Joe Learn Now. The other part of the equation is the process of authorizing existing Windows users or groups to run reports and otherwise access reporting services resources and content. So that process is similar to the role assignment here at the server level, but you need to be careful to access the role assignment page correctly, because where you attempt to make that role assignment matters. Okay, so you can make these assignments at the home level or on any object within the hierarchy of folders that you define. So I'll come back over here to Home, and here is where you need to go to make this kind of folder level assignment. I don't use Site Settings because that's just going to take me back to the server level. Instead, I'm going to use the Folder Settings option here. And I can do this in any folder within the hierarchy. And if I do it at below this home level, then the changes in that other folder are only going to apply to that folder and its children. The changes I make here at home is the top level for these folder level security assignments. Okay, this may all sound a bit confusing, but it works a lot like permission objects in the Windows file system, except that you have the option in the file system of applying the permission changes to subfolders or not. Okay, so let's say that you want to grant a Windows user access to reports and other items throughout a report server. In this case, I would want to go to the home page because I want it to apply throughout the entire server, and I click on Folder Settings. And as you can see, the only settings are security settings. Once again, a fresh installation of Reporting Services has this single role assignment so that all built-in administrators, this is the administrators group in Windows, is assigned the role of Content Manager, which is kind of like a sysadmin role for content. You could think about it that way. You can do a lot of management functions, but it's all geared towards content as opposed to the overall site settings or the entire report server. So it's the content within the home page and all child folders, all nested folders. All right, so here I want to create a new role assignment, so I'll create that button there. And once again, just like the server level role assignments, it lists all of the available roles that I have. And once again, these are the ones that are defined in a new installation of Reporting Services. So you can see there's a browser that can view folders, reports, and subscribe to reports. There's a Content Manager, can manage content. So this is that system admin kind of permissions for content. And it includes folders, reports, and resources. My Reports allows the user to publish reports and linked reports, manage folders and reports, resources in a user's My Reports folder, so their own folder. If the only role that I am assigned to is My Reports, then I can do virtually anything in My Reports, but I can't access anything else on the server. I can't access other users' My Reports folders. Publisher can publish reports and linked reports to the report server, and Report Builder may view report definitions. Okay, so all these different types of roles that you can assign a new user to. So to create the role, once again, and I'm just going to use Joe Learn Now again. And I'm going to assign good old Joe to the browser and My Reports roles. So just a couple roles. Might make sense in a real environment, might not, but those are the roles that I want to assign to Joe. And I'll click on OK, and now that new role assignment is there and available. Right away, Joe can come to this report server using Report Manager and access all the reports, as well as use his own My Reports folder. Okay, a couple of things I didn't point out in the server level role assignments is that you have these text boxes. I can select all or just one or a few of the roles, and then I can do a group delete. And then I can also come in here and click on the Edit button if I want to come in and change the role assignments. Notice that from here I can't change the name. I can't change this set of role assignments to a different user. But I can now, say, add Publisher to Joe's role. Click on Apply, and that new role assignment will take effect. Or I could delete the role assignment entirely. I'll click on Apply, and now you can see that Joe is a browser, can use My Reports, and is also a publisher. So pretty easy stuff. Okay, so once again, I've made these changes at the home level. So I'll go back to the home folder, if you will. You can access the security settings page for any object on the report server by navigating to that object using Report Manager, and then accessing the settings from the pop-up menu that appears when you hover the mouse over the item and click the down arrow. And then you can go into the security settings, just like what I showed you for the home folder. Okay, but the difference is that rather than using folder settings, I'm going to come here to Sample Reports, hover over it, click the down arrow here, and select Security. And that goes directly to the Security tab. I also could have selected Manage and selected the Security tab. Either way, it gets me to the same place. Now, this is the security settings page that is similar to the folder level security, the home top level security settings page. And it's also kind of similar to the one that I accessed using Site Settings here. But there are some differences. First of all, notice that all of the role assignments that I've created on the server, or that were created for me when I installed reporting services, exist here in a subfolder of that parent folder. This shows that automatically permissions in the parent folder are inherited by the child folder, because again, Sample Folders is a child of home. So if I were to remove this role here, this role assignment here, this is going to apply only to the Sample Reports folder. Joe would still have access to all other folders for these role assignments within this report server, but not Sample Reports, not any child folders. Okay, so you can get to this kind of a security page for all folders and reports on the report server. Now, all folders below home also have that folder settings. So if I come back over here to home, go into the Sample Reports folder, go into folder settings, that's a different way of getting to this same security tab. I just have to select the security tab here, but I also then have access to the properties tab. Okay, so this is the same screen or same page that I was just showing you a moment ago, gotten to by different means. All right, now Other objects on the report server. If I go in here to Data Sources and select an item, first of all, if I select the pop-up menu, notice that I have the security setting, but I can also get to that through clicking on this and going to the Security tab here. So you can control that. This is a data source this time in the same basic way. Okay, so now when you deploy a new reporting services project from SQL Server Data Tools to the report server, all those objects, including the separate folder, if you create a folder as part of that deployment, is going to inherit the security settings of the home or the root reporting services folder, or the folder under which you nest that new folder. And then when you alter security at the home level, each of the child or the nested folders inherits those changes. But you can change the settings for a nested folder, and then those apply just to that nested folder. Okay, so the way you do that is I'll go back into the Sample Reports Security section and click on this Edit Item Security button. And we immediately get a pop-up dialog box. Pay attention to these when you get them in reporting services. Item security is inherited from a parent item. Do you want to apply security settings for this item that are different from those of the home parent item? In this case, I do, but make sure that you want to, because this is going to sever the link between those inherited settings and what applies, or the settings from the parent object. When I click on OK, I get a different page. I can create new role assignments now. If I decide to change my mind, I can revert to parent security, and I'll lose any customizations that I make here. So now, just like before, I can delete role assignments, I can create new ones, I can edit the role assignments. So say, particularly within this folder, I can edit this, and within this folder, I want Joe to be able to manage the content. So I'll add that permission, and now Joe has more permissions within the Sample Reports folder than he does in any other folder throughout the entire report server. Now, it's important to understand that you're completely making a break with the parent security. So any other changes I make to the security of the home folder are no longer going to be inherited by the sample reports. So think this through very carefully. You really have to structure your security. It may affect how you create folders, where you place folders, because you want to do some custom security things in some folders but not others, but those could affect related folders as well. So it can be a little bit overwhelming. The moral of the story is to keep security simple. Okay, so if I make changes and I want to revert, I can revert back here. Security settings that are defined for this item will be replaced by the security settings on the parent home. Do you want to continue? I sure do, so I'll click OK. And now I'm back to having the same settings. Joe no longer has content management permissions here within this sample reports folder.